Thank you so much for coming and being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So the last time we talked, I think it was just before Music Appreciation was released.
Yeah, like I think the week of.
Yeah. So talk a little bit. Why don't each one of you introduce yourself and tell me where you're from, if you don't mind.
Steve Corley. I'm actually from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised.
Nice.
Damian Espinosa. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay. Chris is from Evanston, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, Marc Piane. I was born in Oak Lawn, Illinois. Went to the lab school in Hyde Park growing up.
Great. So, and how did you all find each other?
How did we find each other? Well, I think I've known Marc the longest, but I've played with Damian. No, the other way around. I've known Marc the longest, but I don't know. We played in the band together. We played in the band together. I think 2000, 2001 when you first got here.
Right.
And but I'd known Marc the longest. I think we kind of were in each other's orbits. Like we met in it was a band in the mid-90s.
Pop jazz.
Kind of a pop, kind of like Eric Dolphy meets Rodgers and Hammerstein, I think. And it was called Dag Nabbit.
Yeah, it was wacky.
And it was a wacky band that mainly gigged at the Beat Kitchen in what's it? Is it what neighborhood? Like Ravenswood kind of ish or.
Yeah, I guess so.
So anyway, we played there a lot.
Village.
That was probably the only place we played because the guitarist was also the sound man there. So it was like we kind of had the hook up there. But we were there, and it was kind of like these really way out lyrics, but the band kind of swung.
Well, if you can imagine the vibe, I used to have really long hair, and the lead singer of the band, his partner was a hairdresser for the lyric opera. And so he would take my hair and make it into this gigantic cartoon pompadour.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of image, and we wore suits. That was the kind of image.
And we wore suits, but the lead singer could wear anything from like an American flag dress to he wore some other.
Well, he swung on the stars. You know, he had the moonbeams in a jar.
And he threw out stars to the crowd. So
Wow. Sorry, I missed that.
yeah,
It was wacky.
So it was wacky. So then, and so I met Damian. You want to talk about the band that we played in?
Yeah, we played in a group that was led by a pseudo singer, but mostly a spoken word poet who also played some clarinet. And she would basically have a live band that did kind of live loops. And so it was kind of hip hop-ish a little bit, except that her poetry was it was very erotic. And so then
sometimes uncomfortably so.
Yeah. So we did this kind of crazy live hip hop kind of stuff behind her.
And
that's how I met him when I first moved here.
And it was just kind of like, I was like, hey, I may need a piano player, and so we swapped info, and then there we go. And I think how did we meet? I think
We met because somebody else couldn't do your gig.
Oh.
So basically subbed in, and
that was
like
the hottest gig.
Yeah, the hottest gig that
That's
I've
right.
probably ever played.
It was like 115 degrees in full sun.
That's right. We played the Edgewater Street Fest, and the stage we played, it was like 98 degrees outside. There was no canopy on top.
Wow.
And we were just flying, and it was really
And we were playing in a parking lot too.
You were playing in
They
a
were
parking
roasting.
lot.
Right.
And I think it had just been tarred, so it was like absorbing even more heat. So I was like, man. So
When he said it was the hottest gig, I thought, it was great. It was the best gig ever.
Literally hot.
It was good. It was fun playing with Steve for the first time.
It was cool, but I think
Yeah.
it was pretty.
My bass was too hot to touch. The sun was shining down on us.
Oh
Like
my
when you
God.
touch my bass, it was hot on your hands.
Yeah. And so we had another drummer that was great, but we needed to make a change, and like he was the first drummer that we thought of because he'd subbed in, and he was one of these guys that really surprised me. I think your wife told me like when she came out, like he sat in their basement and learned your whole show like one weekend. I'm like, wow. So I'm like, okay, this is the guy we want to keep working with. So
Nice. So talk a little bit about how important that rapport is between the four of you.
well, it was always important to me to have a band. Like all the great artists that we think of, like had bands that lasted for years, like Art Blakey, Monk, Duke Ellington, all these great people. And so it was just important to me to have a band. It got kind of frustrating. Like you go out to see some of your favorite players, and they would all like they'd all be killers, but they'd all be like head buried in the music stand because they're all reading. And it was just important to me to try to have a band where we could actually develop some music, and people who would follow us could actually kind of see our evolution. So it was really important.
So how long have you been together?
I think it's what, the 10 years, I think?
Yeah.
Officially 10, yeah, I think 10 years this month, I think,
Nice.
so.
And when you compose, do you write the music? Do you write it collectively? Do you write it and bring it to the group and work things out? How does that work?
Well, everybody writes, and everybody, like, the last tune we played, Missing Part, Damian wrote, and then the tune before that, Clean and Clear, Marc wrote.
Nice.
And so everyone, I mean, we each write, and we each kind of have an idea, but sometimes somebody will have an idea about a chord or a rhythm or something that might sound better, like, or just an arrangement idea. Like, for instance, I'm notorious for not knowing how to end my songs. Like, I'm notorious. I can write. I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of the tunes I write, but I can never really figure. If I could end all my songs with like shave and a haircut, I'd be cool. But you know, these guys would hate it. So you know, Marc is also is phenomenally good at like coming up with endings for songs. So or just, you know, Damian have an idea about a chord, or you know, I'll sing an idea to Steve, but he'll take my idea and just, like, you know, take and run with it. And so, you know, everyone's got a certain amount of space to figure out their place in here.
Well, I think what's kind of fun too is some of these tunes have existed in previous incarnations in other bands and stuff, and you know, you play them with, you know, and work them out with and develop a rapport with a different set of players, they evolve into something else. You know, so like Chris had kind of a electric fusion band. We do a few of the tunes that band used to do, but they're much different. You know, because I'm playing acoustic bass on most of them. I have a group that's kind of more free jazz, and when I bring tunes to this group, like Clean and Clear is one of them, they're a little bit different. So, you know, they evolve as this group.
Nice. Now talk a little bit about the upcoming dates at Jazz Showcase. How did that come about, and why is that a good deal?
It's a good deal for a number of things. We've been lucky enough to play a lot of the really great rooms in town, like the Green Mills and Andy's, and we played the showcase during the week a number of times, both, you know, this band and, like, you know, in different bands. But it's kind of a, I don't know, pat on the back, if you will, kind of, because that weekend slot is kind of reserved for like national acts or kind of high profile local Chicago people, like, I guess, like a Kurt Elling or a D. Alexander or Marquise Hill or Corey Wilkes or something like that. So, you know, the fact that we're kind of we get that kind of like steady 4-day run where we can kind of run through, you know, our whole repertoire, or, you know, or work out some new stuff. It's like it's important. It's definitely kind of a badge of honor for us.
And how much does the venue influence the set and the vibe, the whole thing?
That's one of the showcases, and the Green Mill are two of the kind of they're listening rooms. Like most of the other rooms are bars or restaurants first and foremost. So I mean, the music's important, but it's kind of 50-50. Like whereas like the showcase and the Green Mill, like, they go out of the way to let you know, please keep your voices down, or turn your cell phones off, or whatever. So and it's, I like that, and I always kind of make a joke about it, like, you know, if you guys want to turn your cell phones on or something like that, you know, it would make us feel more comfortable or something, and it, just to kind of like lighten the mood or whatever, because I'd say half the rooms we play are kind of, you know, bar or restaurant-y kind of thing, and the rest are, or the other half are kind of like, we've been playing a lot more listening rooms lately, so that's fun.
I think one of the really fun thing about playing with these guys, though, is you know, they really play at a very high level, regardless of the room. So, I mean, obviously, it's going to be better to see us in a concert venue, listening room type thing like he's talking about, but, you know, nobody ever phones it in. It doesn't matter if we're playing in front of a restaurant where nobody's listening. You know, these guys are playing at a very high level, and it's always fun to do. So, and we've actually had a friend of ours that actually produced our last record comment, like, you guys are on whether you're playing in a restaurant or playing in a concert venue. So it's really fun.
Yeah, that's high praise.
Yeah.
Well, and having said that,
absolutely.
too, I mean, it's just nice to be in a place where you can actually hear, too.
For sure,
Like,
for sure.
when you're not having to compete with glasses clinking and and people doing cheers and doing shots. It's nice.
Birthday songs,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Are
nice.
they cheering for the bass solo?
No,
Probably not.
Never.
Nope,
Never.
nope, the game's on. So.
And talk a little bit about this. I've read some good reviews of the last album, so that's got to be gratifying too, to have people who are critics and write about jazz professionally give high praise to the work.
It is, and I mean, I like the fact that we're well. It's on one hand it's not going to necessarily change what we do because of the praise, or we're trying to keep level-headed about it. But at the same time, it's nice to hear that we're being appreciated for doing what we do. I mean, one thing that I like about working with these guys is we all have the utmost respect for the tradition, and we listen and critique and study all the great old records and everything. But it's also important to remember that it's 2015. There's been a lot of great music that we've all listened to, in our own, as kids and and home, and we all listen to a lot of jazz, but we all listen to a lot of other stuff, and I think we all have kind of the freedom to bring those influences in, in our playing and our writing and arranging and everything else. So it's just important to remember that, and I think the people that come out to see us can respond to that, because the majority of the people that come out to see us aren't necessarily musicians, or sometimes they're jazz aficionados, but for the most part, they're just people that appreciate good live shows or good music, and hopefully we're giving that to them. So.
I think also when you listen to the album, you're actually hearing us as it's not like super rehearsed. We rehearsed for 30 hours, trying to get the music together, but it was music that we were playing, just hadn't recorded yet, so we kind of came in and we could be ourselves on the album without having to recharge down or anything like that. So when you hear the album, you're actually hearing us in our element, just playing music.
Yeah,
I think you can hear the energy in that too. Yeah.
And one thing I'm proud of, I wanted to we kind of went out of our way. I wanted to I want to do at least first, second, maybe if at the most 3 takes. If we can't get it, we'll just move on and come back and get it later. But I didn't want to, I wanted to kind of do it the old Blue Note Prestige records and just try to knock it out and do it. And we booked I want to say 3 days of studio
3
time.
days, yep.
I think we 3 days of studio time. I think by the end of the first day we had 8 or 9 songs done of the 13 that are on there.
And the second day we had a double album.
Yeah, second day we had a double album, and then it was just okay, well, I could put out a single album, but people need to hear this. All right, I'll do this configuration, but then I'll do the rest on internet.
And I guess we don't have to come back anymore.
You know what? Screw it. We'll just put it all out. I'll just go. We'll just eat ramen, for a little while. So and then so it's gratifying. It's very gratifying.
Yeah, nice. Well, I want to thank you again for coming in and doing the performance for tonight and being on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
so much.
Thank you.